Hey guys, it's Sandy with Urban Rebel Designs in Aztec, New Mexico. I'm just trying to get in position here. Today I have a fun, quick little project planned for us, and it's kind of neat because it's interchangeable. So see my gorgeous sign from Signopoly? I've got it hanging on the base of our project, and this, I'm gonna lay this over here. This can all be made out of scrap wood if you have it on hand. When you jump on, say hi so I know you're here. I'm by myself today, so I may be a little slow on the comments, but I'll do my best. This is just a regular piece of scrap 1x2, and I have gone in and put, see if there's a good way, cup hooks at like 6 or 8 inch intervals. And that's what we're going to be hanging our little signs from this morning. Hi, Miss Pam. Hi, Kelsey. And today we're doing signs out of the Voodoo Gel Stain, and believe it or not, we're going to use every single color. So I want to start out by showing you what our sign blanks are. These, if you can see, are just old pieces of fence that I had my husband cut down. Then I cut my stencils to say what I wanted to, and I've already taped them off, and I've already done a coat over the top of the stencil with the same color as the base stain. But I wanted to show you how great this works. The Voodoo Gel Stain is amazing. I love it. I use it for everything from gel stain to paint to glaze. And all I'm going to do, let's see, where can you see me? Over here. Is I am just going to squirt a little bit out on my piece of wood. And then I'm just taking a chip brush. I should have sprayed my wood first. I'm in New Mexico, so everything is really dry. Now I'm going to put some more out. And because this is going out by my porch, and I'll warn you, I'm doing it to coordinate with the wreath behind me, then I'm not real worried about it being perfect, because honestly I'm probably going to go back in with a little bit of sandpaper and sand some back. So all I'm doing is I'm putting a good heavy coat on my wood, and then we'll just set it aside and let it dry, and we can move on to our stencils. So I have several favorite designers, but one of them is, let's see if anybody can guess it, black and white courtly check. Let's see if anybody can guess what it is. Okay, so I have my base covered, I have my stencil taped on, and I've done one coat of the same color as the base on my stencil. And now we're just going to, let's see what color. I'm going to use white for the lettering on this one. So I'm just going to squirt some out on a plate, and I have my handy dandy blue sponges that I used last week. And all I'm doing is getting some on the sponge and then dabbing some off. This helps give me some control, and it will also help to downplay any bleed through that you might get. The Voodoo Gel Stain is a bit thinner than the paint, and when you use it as a true stain and you go and wipe it back, it's gorgeous. Now it will have a matte finish, so you can top coat it with gator hide or one of the lovely top coats. A lot of times when I'm using it, I want to leave it flat because I want it to look aged. And that quickly, we have the first one done. So I'm just going to peel the tape off so we can see it. And I had a little bit of bleed through, but I can go back in with an artist brush and fix that. But we're not finished with this yet, so we need to let it dry some. And now we're going to go, we have pumpkins, apples, and hayrides. So now we're moving to the pumpkins. On this one, I used the Black Magic, and for our lettering, we're going to use Up in Smoke. On the first one, I used Up in Smoke as my stain, and I used Black Magic for the lettering. Okay, squirt a little bit of this out, and it doesn't take very much at all. And I'm just going for another corner on my sponge. Let's see, can I move it over this way so you can see? And all I'm doing is I'm just dabbing up and down. When you use a stencil brush, sometimes you can push some of your paint or your stain underneath the stencil, and that's all bleed through is. Or on mine, on the hayrides where I got just a bit of bleed through, I had a little bit too much stain on my sponge. But it's just paint. You can go back and fix pretty much anything. I want to know what everybody is working on this weekend. I always like to hear that because then I can live vicariously through you. I have a kitchen class tomorrow and a one-on-one this afternoon, and then I have a bedroom set to paint this afternoon. My shop is open Tuesday through Saturday, so my weekend is Sunday and Monday. Does anybody else have a weird weekend? And the stencil on this one wants to stick a little bit. Okay, so now we have our pumpkins done. And we're going to go to apples, and I think I'm going to use Black Magic for the lettering on this one. So just a drop. Let me pick this up and show you. So I just barely have a drop right there. And I'm dipping the corner of my sponge in and then dabbing some off. And then when I'm doing the stenciling, okay, this is backwards to me, I'm just lightly dabbing over. So our hayride will be ready to decorate as soon as I get this one done. I think what I'm going to do on this when we get off of here is I'm going to flip them over, because you could use this. So I put a little eye hook in the center of the top. You could use this as a double-sided sign. So probably what I'll do when we get off here is I will do something, Christmas is the next thing coming up, something Christmassy. So all I have to do is go out, change out my wreath, flip my signs over, and my front porch is decorated. Okay, let's go back to the hayrides and I'll show you how we're going to decorate this. So on the hayrides, I want to decorate, because I like a splash of color, I like a little bloom. I'm going to use the Temptress, which is one of my favorites. So just a drop, and now I'm sure everybody learned this in school, but it's so much fun to do. I'm going to use a pencil eraser. So I just dip it in and then I dab it off till I start getting a clean line. I got too much off. And we're just doing polka dots. There's so many things that you can do to make your house look fancy. You look like the mom on the block who always has it together. And this will literally take me less than 30 minutes. I love stuff like this because I'm always in a hurry. So I think I'm going to leave the rides solid. So here we have our little turquoise polka dots. On the pumpkins, I want to use, oh, I love this color, the new denim color in the Voodoo Gel Stain. And for it, I think I'm going to do crosshatch. So again, I just put a little bit out. I have a pointed artist brush. Let's see if I can, there you go, you can see it there. And it's not going to show up real well on the gray. There we go. I rest my wrist on my piece when I'm trying to paint straight lines. I'm not moving my hand, I'm just moving the brush. And I'm not sure if you can see it here. Let me see if I can see any comments. Okay, I can see them, but I'm too far away to read them right now. So I will go through and I will finish my pumpkins, if you can see that. And these aren't quite dry, so I'll probably have to go neaten it up a little bit. Is neaten it up a word? I make up words sometimes. If my husband was here, he could tell you some of them. And the apples we're going to do in Bayou Moss. And I think for that, we're going to do, let's see, we've already done stripes. And we've done polka dots. Let's see if we can do a plaid. So I'm just going to start out doing stripes all across that letter. And then I'm going to do them the opposite way. And we'll see if when I hold it up you can see it. So there I've created a little plaid for the apples, and of course I'll go back and finish decorating all these, but I wanted to show you the quickest, easiest way in the world to create a bow to sit on top of this. So I need to move this stuff off. Forgive me just a second, because I don't want to mess up my pretty ribbon. I have I have 4 colors of ribbon. I always start with 1.5 inch wired ribbon for my center, and then depending on how many layers you want to have is how many different colors you need. So here I have 4, and this is the simplest, easiest way in the world to make a bow, because once you learn the first step, the rest of them are the same thing, just repeated, just different size. We also have a chenille stem that I'm going to go ahead and fold in half. And if this goes a little quick, or if you can't see, then I have posted a link to my YouTube video on how to do this. It goes a little slower. The first thing we're going to do is get our center loop, and all I did was loop it over. See, I just fold it in half, find how long I want my loop. I'm going to squeeze that together. We don't have to worry about twisting because this is double-sided ribbon. So now I'm going to come under, I'll go up here, and make my second loop, and I'm going to squish it together. And I'm holding it with my thumb and my forefinger. And for our last loop, we're going to do the same thing, So we're going back under and over where our first loop was, and we're squeezing it. And then we want to make sure our tails, so these that aren't loops are tails, are the same length, and we're just going to cut it. With the bad scissors. Okay. So this is going to be our center. And what I want you to notice, when you turn it upside down, you have a head, 2 arms, and 2 legs. And we're taking our bent chenille stem, and we're just going to put it in there, pull it down kind of tight, and you can always go back and refluff your bow. And then I'm going to give it one good twist, because we're going to untwist this. So for the second layer, I want to use this beautiful peacock, because it has all the colors in it of the decorations for the sign. So we're doing the same thing. We're going to get our first loop and decide how big we want it, and we're going to squeeze it together. So we have our tail here. Now this one is a single-sided ribbon. It's plain on the back. So by doing it this way, we're just going to fold it under and come back. We need to check and make sure that our loops are the same height. So we did not twist, we just looped it over and under. And then we're going to make our third loop. And this one is easy to remember because it's just 3 loops and 2 tails. And there we have our third loop. We'll get other scissors. We're going to come down and cut the tail. And here's where it gets a little tricky. And I'm going to go, where am I? Right here. Because I'm going to lay this down flat. And I'm going to hold it with one finger and untwist it. Now when you lay your second layer down, so we have, let me get this, our head, our 2 legs, and our 2 arms. So when we lay this one down, we want to make sure that the head and arms go over the legs of the first layer. And we're going to pull it tight and give it a twist. And you can see how this is going to start to take shape. So when you fluff it, and this is just 2 layers. I do a minimum of 3. I have done as many as 7. Just depending on how big, how fluffy, and how funky you want your bow. That's the easiest bow in the world. Again, I put a link to the video on my YouTube channel that goes a bit slower and takes you all the way through start to finish, if you're interested in that. So I wanted to show you how this will look once we get it finished. By having the eye hooks in the center, you can just hang it right on those cut hooks. If you can see well enough. We'll have our bow on top. Let's see what goes. You can cut your tails as short as you want to, but we'll have our bow on top. This next to the front door with this wreath will be adorable. That's it for me today. Join me again next Friday, same bat time, same bat channel, and see what we can get into then. Thank you. I'm going to go back and try to answer any questions I missed. Have a great weekend.